Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling fantastic out there this morning, having a great start to your day, and a great week out there so far. It's almost the weekend. Thank goodness for that. I know for me, I typically don't long for the weekend necessarily, but this week I certainly am. It's been a long last couple days, that's for sure. My week technically didn't even start until Tuesday morning because I had the day off Monday, but it just seems like it's been one of those energy zapping weeks for sure. But blessed to have a job, where I work with people that almost everybody I work with I consider friends. So never want to take that for granted, but everybody has a week where, man, it's just rough at work, and it's definitely been one of those weeks. But hope you guys are doing well out there and are having a fantastic week. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Thursday. There's still that low pressure that's moving over portions of the country, the Midwest, Great Lakes region. There's going to be a secondary low pressure that most likely develops sometime in the next 12 to 24 hours. These will kind of combine, if you will. They won't technically combine, but both of them will bring a lot of weather to the Northeast, another rainy at least start to your weekend. So today's kind of like the beginning stages to what's going to be a pretty active start to your weekend. Tomorrow being really the start of it, today kind of being the beginning stages of it. Behind it, some cool air will reinforce itself, and then we got the ridge out west. We'll speak a little bit on, and then we'll give you an update on the tropics for the second half of the video. Tropical Storm Tammy's out there, could bring some impacts to the Leeward Islands, most likely will, and then eventually turn and head on out to sea as a lot of systems have this hurricane season. So we'll give you an update on that too. If you want to know what's coming next week, which I think we're going to have a couple storm systems next week, maybe into next weekend, pretty strong cold front setting up somewhere. Check out the video last night. I made a video on it, got pretty detailed on it. I'm not going to make a video on it every single evening until we get a little bit closer to it. I just want some details to iron itself out, but we will certainly keep you guys aware of what's coming up. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank you all for the support. October has been incredibly slow, probably going to be the slowest month since May, and it just goes to the fact that there's been no weather to really talk about. It's been pretty quiet, so thank you all for the people who continue to view regardless. If you ever consider joining the channel, it's a great way to support what I do. I have 41, 42 incredible members that support me unconditionally every single month. So thank you for that. That makes a huge difference. I can't thank y'all enough for that. It really does, especially in these slower times. If you folks got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it so others can do so too. Let's talk about what's going on out there. So whiter colors on your screen, more moisture in the atmosphere, more dull colors. It's more dry air. So the water vapor loop isn't doing really a great job indicating a ton of dry air out there, but you still got some dry air in the southeast and northeast, but moisture is on the increase. And if you look at this little region right into here, this is a pretty thin area of showers, even maybe some areas of heavy rain moving through areas of the Mississippi Valley, the Mid-South, and will continue to move west to east throughout the day today. Behind it, you got a pretty stout flow out the north in general. This will reinforce some cool air behind a cold front, and we just have a good bit of moisture out here for areas of the Great Lakes. This will be on the increase across areas of the Ohio River Valley throughout the day today. And Tall Ridge building all the way up into Canada, and then the jet comes screeching down right in here. So this area being dominated by a ridge of high pressure, therefore you got above average temperatures in this region, but enjoy it, especially for areas of the northern Rockies, the northern plains, because definitely some abrupt changes coming late next week. But go on and do what you got to do in the Northeast today. Definitely some rain moving into this entire region. Probably other areas outside this weird looking circle also. Moving in, unfortunately, another damp, at least at minimum, start to your weekend. But that's what's going on based off water vapor loop. What is going on based off what's falling on our heads out there. And here it is, indicates that thin layer of showers moving through areas of the Mid-South, the Ohio River Valley, the Great Lakes region, waking up some damp conditions in Michigan through Indianapolis, Indiana. Another area of organized, even heavier showers and even some downpours. Maybe a rumble of thunder, I doubt it, but making its way through central Illinois, Peoria, certainly waking up to some damp conditions. Just had some showers make its way through Memphis and then all the way down into northern Mississippi. This will continue to move east and actually become more widespread as we are getting into the later afternoon hours, the overnight hours, and eventually into tomorrow. Everybody else, there ain't much to speak on. There's an area of showers off the coast of the Carolinas. This will actually move inland. could bring a threat of, I wouldn't really call it a threat, but definitely a risk of some showers, maybe even some storm activity into eastern North Carolina a little bit later today. Speaking of the Storm Prediction Center does have the general risk for 4 different areas. One here in North Carolina with those showers. Could have some storms down here around the Miami area, southern tip of Florida, maybe the bayou of Louisiana. And then right over the mid-south, could certainly see maybe some storms embedded, some heavier precipitation embedded in this kind of line of energy that moves through. I definitely do think we will have an increase in moisture with this as kind of a weak low pressure begins, the beginning stages developing over kind of the southern Alps region later on today. Excessive rainfall outlook, nothing to really to mention, just because a lot of rain is not going to fall today from this system. So it's pretty quiet. That's good. And watches and advisories, warnings, nothing to speak on except it's heating up in California. Heat advisories up. You can tell you got this ridge dominating this region, but everybody else, guys, I mean, this is the quietest morning I've seen. I don't know when the last time I've seen this little of warnings, watches, advisories. Pretty crazy. Southeast. Let's speak on the Southeast today. A little bit more action to talk about today compared to the last couple of days. And here it is. You got kind of 2 things happening here. You got some storms just south of the Florida Keys and the Bahamas. Definitely a stormy day today. Some of these storms could drift into the southern tip of Florida later on this afternoon, this evening. Could have some pop-up activity in the bayou of Louisiana. Some showers making its way through Kentucky. Could get some storms that kind of push into the southern Outer Banks region. I would say they're probably going to be more well north of Wilmington, but you guys in extreme eastern areas of NC, North Carolina, certainly could get some storm activity later this afternoon, this evening. And then as we're making our way into the late evening hours, some storms could develop. A little thin line of storms could develop in central Kentucky, central areas of Tennessee. These could make their way into the Cumberland Plateau, northern Alabama also. And, this is around midnight tonight. Definitely dealing with some showers later on. We could get some rain that kind of makes its way throughout the Outer Banks, continues. Delmarva could get some rain overnight tonight for sure, as you basically got some energy developing kind of at the same time out there. A lot of little key pieces developing out there. I think we could have a pretty strong coastal low off the coast of the Northeast by the time we get into this weekend. But this is around 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. We got some heavier rains moving through the southern Alps region. I'm very happy. Me and my wife rescheduled our trip that we were going to take tomorrow. It was going to be like a day date. We were going to ride up to the mountains all day tomorrow and have dinner in Asheville. It was going to be nice. I was looking forward to it, but ended up making it more of a family thing for Monday. But we were going to get rained on Friday. It was just not going to work out. So at the end of the day, me and my wife could definitely reschedule that date night or date day, but definitely going to be a rainy day in the southern Alps for tomorrow. Starting off tomorrow morning, could get some rain in Atlanta. Starting off tomorrow morning, waking up to some rain in the Greenville-Spartanburg area, up to Asheville, Boone. No snow with this. Even in the higher elevations, it's just flat out rain. A lot of warm air involved. And I think tomorrow could be a start of a pretty rainy day. Maybe even some storms in Georgia and the South Carolina region tomorrow. Nothing severe that I'm watching, but you definitely are dealing with a lot of tropical moisture down here in the Bahamas and just off the east coast of Florida. Rainfall from this in the southern Alps region. I mean, 1/10 to 1/4 inch of rain up here in Kentucky, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain. I think more of this rain starts to add up tomorrow morning in the southern Alps region. This only takes us between now and 8 a.m. tomorrow, but if you were to keep this going all the way until Saturday morning, I mean, certain areas of those higher elevations where you could get more of a lift, which provides more rainfall in some of these higher elevations like the Smokies around Rome Mountain, places like that. Those higher elevations, you could get over 1 inch of rain, so a lot of rain could fall. So we'll see how much does actually fall, and this will mainly be in the 24-hour period starting Friday morning to Saturday morning. Northeast, I mean, you're probably going to get some showers later on this evening, probably in southern New England area, but most of the energy starts to make its way in from the west. I think Ohio will start to get very rainy throughout the day today into the evening hours. West Virginia, you start to see some showers later on tonight in western sections of the state. There's that low over Michigan, and I think we're going to get an area, maybe even heavy rain, as kind of a developing area of energy begins to, develop over off the coast of the northeast, the eastern U.S. Some heavy rain begins to take over areas in New Jersey into the wee hours of the morning after moving out of the Delmarva region. So I definitely think you're going to wake up to some damp conditions in the New York City region. Southern New England, some light rain will be making its way through, and I think all this moisture will become much more increased as we're getting later into Friday. It looks like, excuse me, y'all, I'm sorry. It looks like a lot of moisture is setting up to develop as we're getting to this weekend. In fact, we make our way into Friday, and sure enough, here it is. There's that low developing. Most of the precipitation might miss. The good news about this is I think we're going to get a lot of widespread activity, but I think that for some people, it might not always be raining. I think that as we're getting into Friday and start of our weekend to Saturday, yes, we're going to be dealing with some rain, but, everybody won't be dealing with just a consistent, widespread, heavy rain. Now, I think you might if you get into Maine, as we get deeper into the weekend, that might be a different story. We'll speak on that as we get closer. South Central U.S., quiet. Really not a whole lot going on. Some northwest flow starts to kind of wrap its way back through Illinois. We'll speak on Illinois here in a second. But the South Central U.S., a beautiful day. Not a whole lot going on. Starting to warm up for sure. Above average temperatures beginning to take over the region as you're not under the influence of that trough anymore. North Central U.S., Great Lakes region, Upper Midwest region, backside energy begins to move in behind this low pressure. So I definitely think, if you live in Michigan, you might get a break of the rain from sometime today, and I think more widespread rain begins to develop in the southern sections of Michigan and in the UP of Michigan. You could even get some storm action potentially in Indiana, extreme eastern areas of Illinois, but I do not think this will be severe at all, but could get some more kind of a convective element to it, maybe get some kind of spurts of moderate to heavy rain with this, and just some widespread kind of light to at times moderate rain across northern Wisconsin, especially the western UP and Michigan. So I think by the time we get into this evening, the rain will kind of let up for the UP, but I still think you'll be dealing with some light at times moderate rain across Michigan throughout the entire next 24-hour period, and even some more rain as possible. Some showers could make their way out of Wisconsin into Illinois, and then more showers from maybe even southern sections of Indiana later on tonight. So everybody else out here kind of in the northern plains area, the Midwest, Great Plains, I think today will be a relatively quiet period. Western U.S., very quiet, and this is because, like I mentioned in the water vapor loop, the jet is way up here in Canada. Everybody else under it is under the influence of this ridge. So therefore, no storm systems are tracking into the western U.S. because the main track of energy is way up here in Canada. So last week, it was different. There was some ridging over the western U.S. In fact, there was, but the ridging wasn't as tall. This week, it's taller up into Canada. Last week, it was going more so like into this region right into here. So therefore, Washington, extreme northern sections of California, Oregon, we're seeing just storm after storm system. Not the case this week. Above average temperatures and a little bit nicer weather. So we take our way through the entire 24-hour period. Nothing going on. There's really nothing to speak on. Enjoy the day, because I definitely think some cooler than average temperatures are on the way. Temperatures, speaking of temperatures, get my words mixed up here. It's starting to warm back up in the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. for sure. Starting to see more widespread 60s and even some 70s all the way up into Ohio, Kentucky. I think areas where you see the 60s right in here, where Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio meet, I definitely think you could get to the low 70s. I think some rain could keep you guys a little bit cool here in eastern North Carolina, maybe just the 60s. Maybe some areas might struggle to get into the 60s. That might be a little overdone. But Florida returning back to the 80s. Same thing with Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana. 80s are unfortunately, I say unfortunately if you're not a warm weather fan for this time of the year, making a return. I don't mind an 80-degree day in October here in South Carolina. I don't mind it one bit. As long as we're not seeing 80 degrees in November, December, January, and February, I can't stand that. I really don't. It just kills the winter mood for me. But a 50s, cool day up here in the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region. But, it's still nothing that's that's cooler than average, I would say. Nothing substantially cooler or anything like that. Western U.S., everybody's above average out here, guys. Stick to your local people is always my best suggestion, just because there's microclimates, higher elevations. But I can tell you, everybody's above average temperature-wise. Please, I'm telling you, up in Montana, and Karen, I definitely mentioning you just because I think you're the only person from Montana that I know that views. If she's not, definitely let me know. Always let me know where you are, because I know that I don't get really specific about you folks out west, and there's a reason I don't. I like to be able to provide details for areas. I can't provide details for the Western U.S., or I would literally be making a 2-hour video, just because there's so many valleys, there's so many plateaus, there's so many mountain ranges, there's just so many microclimates out here. So that's why I never get detailed with the Western U.S. For you folks that's been viewing for a while, know that I never even talked about the Western U.S. say about a year ago. So, but enjoy the warmer temperatures, especially up in Montana, the Northern Plains, Dakotas. Enjoy it, because I definitely think Arctic air might be coming in by the time we get into this time next week. Update on the tropics, we got Tammy. Tammy is I would say a healthy, weak tropical storm, if that makes any sense. Compact, popping off some pretty decent convection, still dealing with conditions that are not really favorable for any type of big development here. But conditions are somewhat favorable for some slow development. Nothing explosive or anything like that, thank goodness, as this is definitely staring down the Lesser Antilles. It's pretty low also, kind of taking that southern route, so you would think, man, this is about to sneak into the Caribbean. But as of right now, it's not forecast to happen. This is a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. The good news is, you see the area of orange or yellow right in here. I would say this is orange. It's saying most of the tropical storm force conditions is in that orange area. So it's on the northeast side of the storm. The reason that's good news is because if this takes this track right here, most of the worst conditions will be away from the islands. Now, if this was kind of a west-loaded or southwest-loaded tropical system, then that would be a little bit more worrisome for the islands. But right now, they have not upgraded the tropical storm watches. As of right now, 7:19 a.m., they have not upgraded the tropical storm watches to warnings. So I think that just tells us that confidence is just still kind of off on the track of this. But now it is forecast to become a hurricane, but just out in the ocean. Okay, look at Zoom, a better way to look at this. Forecast to be a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm by 2 p.m. Friday, and will make a close pass, if not make an actual landfall into the northern Leeward Islands sometime Friday evening into Saturday morning. As a mid to high-end tropical storm. So it's going to bring some impacts, okay? But let's hope that this does not develop into a hurricane or anything like that. But I can tell you the GFS, still pretty aggressive, gets this to a 981 millibar hurricane, which is, I would say, a pretty strong Category 1 hurricane at minimum, getting very close to the Leeward Islands, northern Leeward Islands. So this would be Friday night and a Saturday morning, so right here in front of us. Let's hope this doesn't happen, but the GFS is still liking that more high-end scenario. Let's hope that if it does strengthen, let's hope that it turns out to sea very quickly and doesn't bring any big impacts to the Lesser Antilles out here. The European, I mean, it's starting to side with the GFS a little bit more with strength. But does develop this into a stronger tropical storm. We're getting into Friday afternoon, getting very close, but narrowly misses, kind of just like the GFS. The islands here, not as strong of a storm, but has a strengthening system as it's getting closer, but misses. So definitely hunker down out there. I don't think this is going to be huge, but I don't want to downplay this. So definitely be prepared in the northern Leeward Islands, even the British Virgin Islands. Please be prepared. Puerto Rico, I think that you guys are in the clear, but you never know. We saw what Philippe did. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Thank y'all for the support, and y'all have a great Thursday.